welcome back to the Addictively Speaking podcast. I'm James Kashnowski, and I'll be your host. Today, I want to talk about recovery because I did the intro to recovery. So now, obviously, we got to dive into recovery. And not too long ago, a post came up on Facebook that reminded me about recovery, about the moment I got into recovery, the moment I decided that I was done with drinking. And, it's like a simple post, and Facebook reminds me every year at the same time. So it's easy to remember my sobriety date because Facebook reminds me because I posted it because I just wanted to shout it to the world that I was ready. I had, I had made a decision, and I think leading up to that moment, there's a lot of things that like lead up to that minute and that moment and that place and time in who you are. So I'm going to go over some of that stuff, like where I was at and like things like that, because recovery it's not just like, a phrase to throw around. It's like, that's like my life. My life is recovery. Like every minute of every day, I'll wake up and I'm always in recovery, and that's just the thing that's my life. And I had to be okay with that. I had to accept that. I had to, make these conscious decisions and yeah, in myself and say, yeah, this is what I need to do in order to be who I am right now. Because without accepting it or owning it, I never would have got to where I am, 10 and a half years sober, going on 11 in January. So yeah, so it's a big thing because that moment leading up to this, post that I see every year on Facebook to remind me of the place that I was in, which was coming into a good place. My mind was making good decisions. I saw the damage I had done, and I'd accepted that, and I'd stopped letting people tell me that I was okay. And I think that was a huge thing for me. Was I sought out the approval of my friends and my peers and stuff like that, to have them be like, "No, man, you're okay. You just like to have a little fun. Sometimes you take it too far." And by sometimes taking it too far, meant like all the time taking it too far, like blacking out, trying to get into fights, DUIs. Like that's not just having a little fun. That is really damaging to my life. Um, and I don't think people see like inside of you, like what you're going through and how you're dealing with things. And, they just think like, oh, I just like to go out and I just get a little crazy. I just go overboard. But it's like consistently overboard. Like it's not just like, oh, you know, Jim did it again. He went a little nuts. He got into a fight. This was like consistently for like 10 years. Like I was putting myself into horrible situations and damaging myself. So when I stopped saying, and it's not to be mean or anything, but like that their opinions of what I was going through didn't matter anymore. Like my opinion is what mattered, what I thought, what I felt, and what I knew. And that was where it was at. Like that's where I was at mentally. It was like it was me making the choices. It was me seeing the issues. It was me accepting the issues. Because without deciding in yourself that there's a problem, then it'll never get solved. You'll never figure out how to fix it because you have to look inside. And nobody likes to say, I'm broken, or a part of me is broken, or a part of me isn't like everybody else. And you kind of have to like suck it up and swallow your pride and say, you know what? It's okay to not be okay. It's okay to have a part of you that's damaged. It's all right. I've had to go through counseling and therapy and stuff like that for a plethora of different things. And I'm sure during the podcast, we'll get into things that I've gone into counseling for, because it's kind of like what makes up this whole situation. And so I had to accept it in myself, which I did. I accepted it, I owned it, and I said, all right, now I'm going to tell everybody else where I'm at and how I feel. And hopefully, because they're my friends, they'll all be like, oh, yeah, good for you. Wonderful. Because admitting all this fault in oneself is, everybody thinks like, oh, it's just like this big sign of weakness, that you're being weak, or that they're, being damaged isn't okay, and that it's not good to show these things. But I think I used it as one of my biggest strengths, is being able to say that something was wrong, realize that something was wrong. It took me 10 years to get to that point. I mean, that's a long time. That's a decade of my life where I ignored it. I buried it. I listened to other people. I didn't trust myself enough. I wasn't strong enough. And then once I got strong enough, I accepted it and I announced it and I shared it with my friends. And I said, hey, I remember going to each one of them and saying, I'm not going to drink anymore. And I really hope you guys support that and, um, you know, accept it. And they all were absolutely, fine with it. Nobody ever pressured me. Nobody ever asked me. All they've ever done has been like super supportive of the decisions I made. And that has also like catapulted me forward in my recovery, is knowing that my friends, the people I hold dearest to me, my crew, my family, they all thought, good job. And then my family as well, they were like, finally, James, you've got to a moment where you've cracked it. You've got it. I told my brother, and I just remember him being so happy because he's actually in recovery as well, from alcohol, and he didn't have nearly as traumatic of a time as I did. But he sorted himself out and got clean, and he wanted me to as well. And I know it was a big, thing for him, was for me to, get my shit together, because he knew what a good person I was. He knew what a good brother I was. He knew what a good son I was. Um, he saw it my whole life, so he just wanted me to get help. And when I finally told him, man, he was so happy. He was just knew that things in my life were going to get so much better. So, initially when I got into recovery, yeah, things started, getting better. Like, all the negative stuff that was happening was all due to the alcohol. It was all due to the addiction. It was all due to that. All the problems, the money problems, the job problems, the depression, the anxiety, all that kind of stuff. I figured out how to deal with it all. And, you know, I found out a lot of things about myself. Like, I thought, well, I'll get into mixed martial arts and Brazilian Jiu Jitsu because I like to go out and fight in bars and, you know, fight people, because I thought I was a badass. I thought that's what made you tough. Like, I thought, like, inflict, I, in a sense, I thought because I was in pain, I would inflict pain on others. I would try to be, it was my outlet. It was all the rage inside escaping, right? It's just all pent up in there. It's like the movie, the Avengers movie, where Captain America asks Hulk, um, how do you keep it under control? And he says, I'm always angry. So there's always like this anger inside of me. And the alcohol just let it come out so aggressively because I didn't have control. I didn't have any inhibitions. I just reacted, which was very bad for me. So I did. I got into jiu-jitsu and I got into MMA, and I started to learn how to do a little boxing, kickboxing. I learned how to do jiu-jitsu, and I was a great outlet because it helps you process this stuff that you can't process, or that I couldn't process, was the anger inside for everything, a whole bunch of stuff in life that I probably just buried down inside me. So yeah, it taught me, if I was really that tough, then I would go get the shit kicked out of me. And then I kept doing it for years and years and years. And I decided, to compete and to push myself and to try to achieve things that I didn't think possible. And every time I did that, I succeeded. I entered tournaments and won tournaments, and pushed myself harder and harder, because it was a huge outlet in my life that helped me in my recovery. Another part of my recovery. besides the fighting and stuff like that, was joining a group called the Skook Recovers in Schuylkill Haven, Pennsylvania. My friend was going through recovery at the same time, and he decided that he wanted to do something positive for the community and to change the stigma of how you see people that are recovering from addictions, that we're not just these horrible people, that we can make positive impact. And yeah, the group was amazing. We got to do tons of different things like community cleanups, park restorations. I mean, he went all out. I mean, we did all kind of stuff. Speaking at schools, we did drug awareness days for Upper Dauphin School, and what was the other one? There was another school. We did Upper Dauphin twice, and then we did another school once. But I got to speak at both of those, and it was huge because like your toughest critics are a room full of 15-year-olds because they don't care. They'll just, they'll just laugh you out of the room or whatever. But it was nice to be able to be honest about your story, and hopefully that, I mean, we got a lot of emails saying that, they were happy with the, kids would reach out and say thank you for sharing your story. It was inspiring. It helped me get through these tough times. And that's ultimately what it was about, is that I know a lot of people go into AA and NA, and it's like, it's all anonymous and stuff like that. But I think stories like mine and stories like others that I worked with, um, saying them out loud and speaking your truth, it comes from a real place. It comes from a damaged place. It comes from a hard place, but it's to show people that there is a way that you can get out of those situations. So I did all that stuff. I feel like I have to kind of like counterbalance all the negative stuff I put out there. It's like karma and stuff like that. So I like try to balance the scales. Like I did a lot of damage. I hurt a lot of people. I hurt my family. I hurt myself. And I just want to kind of like put as much good out there now as I can, because it's just positive energy, isn't it? It's like you put it out there and it comes back to you. And the more good things you do, the more good things you get. So I've been lucky enough that had a lot of good come back to me while doing this. In my recovery, I also met my wife, and I think to myself, how lucky am I that I decided, because I only met her like, I think I was a year and a half into my sobriety, so very early into recovery. So she got to meet a good version of me, and you know, now we're together almost 9 years, 9 years together, or knowing each other 9 years, married for 8, 2 kids. I'm living a dream that I never thought I could live. I never thought I was worthy of the things I wanted. I never thought I'd get to be a father, and I'm so blessed to have two beautiful little boys that, you know, light up my life every single day, and I get to be the dad that I want to be, and that's amazing. And hopefully like doing these things like the podcast and you know the jujitsu stuff, and like showing them that like you can achieve all these things with hard work and perseverance and dedication and stuff like that. Like hopefully that's a huge thing that'll help them in their lives, and they can see that I put myself out there and that I open myself up and I'm trying to help people. So moving on from the Skook Recovers, I got so far into my recovery that I think, you kind of get a bit complacent, and there's things in it, like in recovery, that like, you constantly, like I said, like in the last episode was all about triggers. There's all these things that happen. So like all this good stuff, tons of good stuff happens. You meet a girl, you fall in love, everything's great. And then something pumps up, the trigger, boom, it comes out of nowhere. So I was in England with my future wife, and I get a call from my brother, and he said that my mom had fallen out of her wheelchair and shattered her femur. So he gave me the lowdown. He told me what was happening. What is this? Huge trigger. And I'm trapped 3,500 miles away from home. Obviously, he's telling me not to worry. He's flying from LA to Pennsylvania, but all these things in your mind start spinning. You're like, shit, like this isn't good. Um, so anybody that knows my mom knows that she dealt with a lot of stuff in her life, and she was an absolute warrior. And I get a lot of my strength, I think, from her and my perseverance and my ability to try to um, I manifest things, I create things out of sheer will. Um, if I decide that I want something or want to do something, I just make myself do it, and I think that comes from her. So yeah, so this happens. So now I got to come home, and I'm in recovery. This is a process. This is tough times. So I have to, luckily I was supported by a lot of family and friends, and when these traumatic events happen, I have a huge safety net in my family and my extended family to keep me going and keep me moving forward. Because it's super easy when stuff gets really difficult in life to slide back into the old ways, or the old way of dealing with things. The old way of coping with things is not to deal with it. So learning in recovery how to navigate these treacherous waters, one might say, because recovery, like I said, it's like it's a state of being. It's who I am. It's what I do. I wake up every day, and you know that's it. I'm sober. I'm sober for me, for everybody that loves me, uh, and I'll continue to be sober because it creates the best version of me. But not to say that there's not things that test you in recovery, because it's not so straightforward. You have to work at it. You have to put yourself in a great mind frame. You have to work really hard. You have to find out how to cope. You have to find out how to deal. So it's all these things kind of rolled up into one that get you going into recovery, like your first year to your second year to your third year to your fourth year to your fifth year, and like people in recovery, it's like why they give the coins out at like AA and NA, to show you it's like a piece that you can hold, you know it's something that you can look at when shit gets real crazy, and I like the idea of it. I've never had one. I thought when I did my 10 years I was going to buy like a custom one online, because I thought like what a cool little thing to just kind of like look at and say, look at what you've done, like a little charm. um yeah, but I never got I never got around to it. But I mean, for my sobriety, I look around at what I have and I think that's my reward. That's my thing that keeps me moving, that keeps me going, that keeps me pushing into recovery. So it's like these early stages of recovery, you have to really kind of do a lot of accepting, self acceptance, and a lot of self work, because you have to kind of like build yourself back. Now, I have a tattoo on my stomach. It's a phoenix rising from the ashes, and it's a line from a Big Sean song that says, "I'm the old version of, or I'm the new version of old me." And I thought that was like kind of represented like what I was going through. So I'm the new version of old me. So there's a lot of old me still, kept true to myself, but I'm a new version of that. I'm upgraded. I'm better. I'm healthier. I'm stronger. I'm more mentally prepared for things. At least I like to think I am. I mean, I might not be, but I do deal with a lot of the anxiety and depression, and I get in my head, and if I find it hard to process a lot of stuff, so I have to work really hard at like dealing with things and coping with things, because it is easy to kind of like drift back and backpedal and slide. So you have to keep a positive mindset, and you have to know what you need to do to keep the recovery moving forward. So, I keep doing things to keep my recovery progressing. So, whatever that is, whatever outlets I have creatively, now with the podcast, and it's just a process that you have to kind of do within yourself. Like you have to do a lot of self reflection. I do a lot of reflecting as well, like looking back on past events or pictures or things that kind of say, that's who I was, that's what I was doing, that's where I was at, but look at where I am now. and you're miles apart. Like I'm miles away from where I was, and that's what I've wanted my entire life, was to be this person that I am right now. Maybe not, but I'm not 100% there, but like I work at it every day, and I try to do better for my family and my friends, and to be a positive influence in others' lives. And that's like a huge thing for me. So that it's all helping in my recovery, moving my recovery forward, because we're always in recovery. You're never not in recovery. It's always part of who you are. So I think the more you know about yourself, and the more you know about your coping skills and your triggers and your mental health and the things that keep you focused and on track, the better you'll do in recovery. And the support system you have in your recovery is paramount. The people you surround yourself with. I have a great group of friends that I have that I still, I might live in the UK, but I still stay in contact with them. They show me love and support, and tell me that they're proud of me for the things that I do and the things that I've accomplished, because some of them have been with me through the shitstorm that was my life. And some of them I've met later on, the better version of me. And this is kind of giving them a window into who I was and how I acted, and the things I did, and what I did to get away from that, and what I did to become the person that they've met. So I think it's a cool experience. So I think I'm going to end it here. I think we're going to stop. But I do want you to go to Apple Podcasts, go to Spotify, listen, check out YouTube. I'm going to post this on YouTube. I'm going to do more video. Amazon Music. I'm going to put some music on here that is by my friend Jamal back in Pennsylvania. He did a little track for me, so I'm gonna big him up. I'm gonna put some music on from my nephew, Beats by Boof. So all these people are collaborating and helping me. They're a huge part of this recovery thing I do, and I'm just trying to include as many people in my journey and in this podcast. So go check it out. Support me, share, like, find me on Instagram, find me on Facebook. Do what you got to do, but just pick up the knowledge that I'm dropping, people, because I'm doing this for. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for everybody else. So I hope you enjoy and continue listening. Thank you.
Yeah. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, but we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Oh no, oh no. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Like MJ, yeah. We ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Oh no, oh no. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Yeah, like MJ. But we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Oh no, oh no. Me and my boys going crazy in 23. Yeah, like MJ. But we ain't never gonna fade away. We ain't never gonna fade away. Oh no, oh no. Crazy in 23, like MJ.